We're here today at Greystone Hall, permanent home now for Ohio Shakespeare Festival, and I'm interviewing Tess Burgler, who's the managing director of the Ohio Shakespeare Festival. It's an amazing company that can easily compete with anybody doing Shakespeare in London, Toronto, or New York. And I'm so excited about their upcoming show in the summer at Stan Hewitt Hall and Gardens of A Winter's Tale, and we're going to talk about that. You play Hermione, right? And we're also going to talk about the upcoming season for in fall and winter. So Tess, tell me a little bit, it's a family business, is that right?
Definitely. My parents are the two artistic directors, and they founded it as well. So the founding artistic directors 16 years ago. And I remember a conversation in a living room deciding what we were going to call it and all the crazy names that we could have had. And then we kind of went with something a little more standard. And I was 14 when that happened. And so since then, it turned from something I did in the summers with my parents to a lifelong passion and an absolute work of my heart. And going from playing the third musician on the left to now lots of wonderful parts, and also getting my hands really hardcore into the management of it. My husband also is the associate producer. A lot of our best friends work in the company, and their spouses work here too, so it's very much a family endeavor, but I also think that, at least the nerdy part of me likes to think that Shakespeare would have liked that. He worked with his best friends with a very close-knit company, and there's something I think that mirrors that in the love we have for each other.
The way I became familiar with you is Carrie Clausen, who's the fine arts writer for the Akron Journal, and she's multiple times lauded with the best critic in the state, introduced me in an excited way to some of your summer productions at Stan Hewitt Hall. And if memory serves, you went off to New York. Is that where you met your husband? Or
No, I actually met him up in Cleveland when we were doing a production at the Beck Center of Peter Pan.
So you actually met as actors?
Yes, we met as actors in that show, and then I said, you have to come audition for my parents, and then he never left. But we did go out of state for a while, which might be what you're thinking of, but it was Virginia. Then we came back.
And were you doing Shakespeare there?
No, we were doing a national tour of a children's theater company where we performed the Theater Force children's theater shows all across the country. It was really cool and so hard. Such hard work.
I've seen several productions that you've put on in Stan Hewitt, and I love being able to sit by the lagoon and listen to the frog and picnic there, and you get to see all the gardens, and then the green show is exceptional, and that's all original, right?
Well, the music, except for the parody song, is not original. We are pulling Irish traditional folk songs and things like that, and putting them together, but the idea of like the choreography and the songs that we pick and the parodies, that is all staged and original.
And will you have a green show or something like it for your winter home?
So not so much for the indoor shows. For one thing, green shows are really hard to put on, and also it's really hard to find the proper material for it. So if we exhaust it for every single show, it might not be as special. But we do consider for some of the shows, for example, The Three Musketeers, which is in here, which is family theater. For family theater, we do a character walk beforehand, so the actual characters will come out and greet the families and interact with them, very almost Disney World style, where you get to meet the characters, and then the show would begin in that capacity. So there's a little lead into it as well. And we're talking about for our comedy Scapan doing something very low-key in the lobby, but having some sort of music and live
One
performance
of the things
there.
that I'm so excited about, having seen several of the productions, and they've all been just first caliber. I mean, they're just exceptional theater.
Thank you.
I was first introduced to you guys with Richard III, I think, but I've seen several comedies that you've put on, and you have part of your mission is to educate as well, right? And not ever in a very pedantic way, but one of the things I'm excited about that you're doing children's theater is that you make Shakespeare accessible to people of every age. Every time I've been to Stan Hewitt, whether it's Macbeth or Richard III or it's one of the comedies, you have people in the audience from like 4 to 90, and everybody's entertained and everybody's happy to be there. But you seem to be bringing in multi-generations in a way that some companies don't.
We are so fortunate in that capacity, and sometimes we try to kind of dissect why that's happening, because our audience is young, like across the board. And you're right that a lot of theaters have more of an older crowd, and it kind of stays in that world. And year after year, our audiences get younger and younger, but without losing the older crowd.
Your core audience.
Exactly.
Well,
So
everybody that's seen you comes back and buys subscriptions because they're so enamored of what you're doing. I mean, you're just amazing, honestly. I mean, I've been so impressed. I brought some friends from Dallas this summer who've seen lots of Shakespeare in London and New York, and they liked Stan Hewitt, so they came because I insisted, and they were just blown away. I mean, they just thought it was an incredible production, and they brought their children who were so enthralled. They were 9 and 12. So whatever you're doing, it's very important, because I think to me, the universality of the themes of Shakespeare, it's the reasons it's become classical and lasted so many centuries is because it does, and it should include everyone, not just people who think of themselves as scholars or intellectuals. I mean, you have to be introduced to it in order to kind of appreciate it, and introducing people to it at a young age makes them fans for life, I think.
Oh, I agree. Well, that first introduction to Shakespeare can either turn you completely off or completely onto him. And if you get handed in 9th grade a book and it's Shakespeare, and you're told to read it like a novel, and it's Romeo and Juliet, of course you're not going to like it. Pick up your favorite movie screenplay and read it like a book, and it's not your favorite movie, But when you bring it to life the way it was absolutely meant to, I think there's a chance to create something magic for somebody and have a beautiful experience. And I think one of the things that we've found is very successful in terms of reaching people of all walks of life and making it accessible is that we're very verse-centric. We don't put, meaning that we respect the iambic pentameter of the words, let Shakespeare sort of make those choices for us instead of saying like, no, we're going to fix it or change it up. Likewise, we don't do concepts or impose
Well, as
themes.
a writer, I've been a screenwriter most of my life. I love that you're faithful to the scribe.
I think that there's a place in the world for concept Shakespeare and modern themes and things like that, but I think that that's become so popular that it's almost harder to find a place that will just tell the story with no boxes, no gimmicks, and to trust Shakespeare completely from the story to the setting to the verse to the words, and not feel like we need to fix him. I think that is what we do well, and what makes it really easy for us to reach people that maybe it would be harder to otherwise.
So you've been at Stan Hewitt for several summers, but this is your first, this coming season will be your first full season here, right?
Almost. So we did have an indoor season last year starting in October, but it was we had no idea. We were looking for a space. It wasn't a thing, and it just kind of through a bunch of series of events fell into our laps, and it was just so perfect. The universe kind of said, do you want to try this or not? And we said, well, we have to. And we only had like 7 days to plan a full year-long season when we had never done indoor programming. So we picked a very safe season. It was good and successful, and we were very proud of it, but it was stuff we'd done before, stuff we knew we could do, stuff we knew we had the people for. And so this coming year, starting with the outdoor Shakespeare that we're doing right now, and the Greystone season coming up, is our first truly, really planned out, it's ambitious, big musicals.
Tell me what you're
Yeah, so we have after As You Like It that just closed, and Winter's Tale that's opening outdoors at Stan Hewitt will be our Shakespeare shows. And then for the time being, there is no Shakespeare actually indoors, just things that we think fit in that world. So we have the Three Musketeers and Adventure with Music, which is family theater. And that is all original script, all original music, original choreography to Ohio artists. So it's totally new. And we call it family theater really purposefully because we want that intergenerational feeling of everybody's welcome, everybody will enjoy this. It's not children's theater.
I saw an original that you did last summer like that.
Robin Hood?
Yes, and it was terrific. I mean,
it's so fun.
I went without a child, and it was awesome.
Yeah, no, the whole Robin Hood cast were just giddy over it. We had so much fun with it. And then, of course,
and the music was awesome.
And we have a resident composer.
Who is that?
His name is Scott Campbell, and he does those parody songs in the Green Show, and he is unreal.
And your husband's name is?
Joe Pine.
Who I've seen as the lead in several things.
Yes.
He's terrifically talented
Awesome.
in his own right.
I've always joked around, it's not really a joke, that if we do anything right, it's the people. We have beautiful people with beautiful souls who bring such particular talents, whether it's fight choreography or dancing or music or original
he had a big thing in
writings.
this last one that I saw, a big part, and he was funny. He was very, very funny. Most of my life, I was a screenwriter for situation comedies, and he's naturally just brilliantly funny. I mean, everybody loved him.
Yeah, he's yeah, me too. He's terrifically talented.
I would think that the comedies are a little harder than the dramas in some ways. Is that true?
Oh, it's just so different. The comedies are so intellectually challenging in terms of the timing and the physicality, working with the verse and all of that. And a lot of the time, the tragedies and the romances are so technically challenging. There's fights and there's bears and there's and all of this.
And the bear is coming up in A Winter's Tale. So
Yes.
tell our audience a little bit about what to expect, because I've never seen A Winter's Tale, and I think many people haven't.
Yeah,
in the series, right?
I kid you not that I've got calls at the box office saying, like, did Shakespeare write that, The Winter's Tale? Because there also was a popular book that came out just a couple of years ago with the same title, so there's a little confusion there. But you're right that it's not done super often. Winter's Tale is a romance, if we are to define it by the general Shakespeare genres, meaning it's not tragedy and it's not comedy, it's kind of both, and there's a little bit of magic in it, is usually how we define a romance. And so Winter's Tale is challenging because of those crazy tonal shifts. You have a scene where people are dying on stage and weeping over each other, and 2 scenes later, it's a goofy, funny scene that would be in any other comedy, do you know? And so those tonal shifts are really intimidating to tackle. What we found is that if you just let them happen, play this as tragedy because it is, play this as comedy because it is.
It's like life. Life is never.
Yes, that's
it's never
exactly
one or
right.
the other.
No, it's
And
okay
the comedy
to be
lands
both.
better if it's juxtaposed against drama, I think.
We have one of our lead actors, we were watching a rehearsal in here just the other day, and she and I had just gone on stage and we were crying and weeping and people were dying and it was really moving, and then we walked off to watch the next scene, which happened to be a funny scene, and Joe, my husband, came on and was the clown and started to do the scene, and she literally said, "Oh, thank God." Like, that's what this show needs right now, a break. It needs to be funny. So you get everything out of it. Also, that cast is kind of ridiculous.
Can you give us like a one-sentence synopsis?
Yeah, absolutely. So you have Leontes, the king of Sicily, with his wife Hermione, and you have their best friend Polixenes, who's the king of Bohemia. So these 2 guys are best friends, and Leontes, for whatever reason, has decided that they're cheating, and he goes mad with the jealousy of it, really quick too, and it is about their kind of devolvement out of a relationship, and they lose their daughter through the next 16 years of her being raised in Bohemia with all of this music and beauty and flowers and life.
And who plays the daughter?
Her name is Amy Teagan-Dick. She's new to the company this year.
And who plays the two male leads?
Jeff Knox, who was our Jaques in As You Like It, is Leontes, and he is unreal. He's, I think, loved that part deeply for a long, long time, and he's bringing that love to it. And Polixenes is our, as Andrew Cruz, he was our Robin Hood, our Prince Hal.
He's awesome.
He's wonderful.
So that's this Thursday through
Opening this
Sunday
Thursday.
until August 13th, is
Yep.
that right?
Thursday through Sunday evenings out at Stan Hewitt until August 13th.
And you can bring your own picnic if you want, or they have really yummy boxed lunches or dinners there, right?
Mustard Seed Market is right up the hill. A lot of the time we'll get some kind of fancy picnic items and just drag them down and have a picnic even before the show. And then they, as you say, they have their own box items there too. Only thing you can't bring in is alcohol because of liquor license, but you can get some there.
But they sell wine and mead, if memory serves.
That's new this year, and I think it's awesome. It's so
really
Ren
cool.
Fair.
It was really cool.
Very clever.
And then you have some picnic tables, and then I liked that you could purchase the cookies and coffee before the intermission, so you
Yeah.
can just enjoy the intermission.
Yeah,
And
so you can order them in
You're
interval
allowed
drinks.
to just kind of walk the grounds,
Yeah.
which are amazing. They have, 7 or 8 formal gardens.
Yeah, I don't even know the exact number.
English
but
garden, a Japanese garden, a rose garden, and then they have a whole new Tudor play yard for children,
Yes.
which is awesome.
and they
It's
get
just
to play on it
gorgeous.
before the show or at intermission. Yeah, the one thing I love about it is that people have said, like, why do you call it Ohio Shakespeare Festival? Why not theater, company? Like, because it is more than just coming and sitting down and watching a show. It's the picnicking and the green
and you really
show.
feel
and the-
like you're in this Victorian, mansion
Yeah.
because you're able to stroll the grounds
Yep.
like they did then, and
It's a
your
whole
set is so
experience.
unobtrusive. It really takes on, architecturally the
Mm-hmm.
theme of the park. It's just beautiful. So just for a destination day, it's a wonderful thing to
Yep.
do. So that's until August 13th. And tell us when your new season starts then? Three
September
Musketeers.
22nd with Three Musketeers, and that goes through October 8th. Everything runs for 3 weekends is how this season works.
And is that always the Thursday, Friday?
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then only indoors we offer Sunday matinees instead of evenings. You don't want to sit out in the sun on Sunday evenings outdoors, so those are Sunday evenings for the Shakespeares. Then after that, we're doing our first big musical in December, Camelot, on this
that'll be
stage.
wonderful.
Yeah, and we have a beautiful cast lined up for that.
And what are the dates for that?
December 1st through the, I believe it's the 18th. And then, but those 3 weeks, those first 3 weekends of December, we'll bring back, it's not part of our subscription series, but just for a week, we're bringing back the complete works of William Shakespeare abridged in January that we sold out last year kind of ridiculously quickly. And it was such fun and such a good hit that we'll just bring that back as sort of a fun event. Then back into the subscription series, we have Molière's Scapan in March, the 2nd through, that one I'd have to look up. But starting March 2nd, we have Molière's Scapan.
And about 3 weeks then.
It is always 3 weekends. And Molière is, if you like Shakespeare's comedies, in some ways Molière was more brilliant in his comedy. The really cool thing about that is that we're using Scapan to start off an OSF Commedia troupe. Commedia dell'arte is an Italian form of comedy that had stock characters and very particular masks and movements, and we really think of that as sort of the basis of all modern comedy, where these characters came from. If you've ever seen Looney Tunes, you're watching Commedia characters, and so Commedia is this art form unto itself in terms of the physicality and the relationships between the characters. And Molière very heavily borrowed from Commedia, so we're going to start training up our own company to be able to do those sorts of Commedia shows, and also train up the audience in terms of what is Commedia. It's a little different, but it's really fun, and hopefully grow from there to each year adding more and more of Commedia to a particular show till one day maybe having a whole Commedia show, which is really exciting, especially for any kind of classical nerd. And then finally, we're closing up the season in April 6th through the 22nd of Charles III, King Charles III by Mike Bartlett. It's on the Ohio premiere, and it's a brand new play, only a couple years old, but it's written in the style of Shakespearean history.
This is the one where you include King Charles and Princess Diana. And
Yeah,
everything, yes.
so it's written like Richard III or King Henry V, and actually has all these little nuggets where you're like, oh, that's just like that moment in Macbeth, or that's just like that moment in Richard III. But it's all the modern day royals. Charles becoming king right after the Queen dies.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah, and Camilla and Kate and William and all of that. And it's not only so cool because it's just such a good show for a Shakespeare company to do, but it's really great. I read the script, and it's beautifully written in the sense that it is dramatic and it's tragic in some ways, but everybody's doing their best to do the right
Are
thing.
you the first American theater company to produce it?
Oh no, not at all. I know Chicago Shakespeare did it recently, but we are the first in Ohio to do it. So that's usually when we're doing 400-year-old shows, we're pretty excited that we get to be the first to do it in any capacity. So that's exciting.
And then do you know what you're going to be doing next summer then for your 2 shows?
We have talks in back rooms and things like that, and so we have good ideas, but nothing we can
Nothing
announce
firm
yet. But March is always when we announce.
And can
the
you tell
season.
our audience just the difference in terms of ticket price versus subscription?
Yes, so full season subscriptions are actually over now simply because we've already closed our first show. But we have 4 show packages, and those you get to pick any 4 shows that are remaining in the season. And depending on if you want the higher tier seating or the lower tier seating, it'd be $100 or $120, which for 4 shows I think is real nice.
And do you have like family prices or?
We do have student pricing always for any seat in the house. It's $5 off. Stan Hewitt pricing for student tickets is only $15. Indoors, it's $5 off, whichever sort of tier you pick. So they can be as cheap as $15, or if you want to pop them up, you're still always
Now I
going
know
to save
for Winter's Tale
$5.
you have a student night, right?
Yeah, so we always, for the Shakespeares and the classic shows, we always try to do some sort of community event where we get people in however. So for the comedy, we always do pay what you will, meaning any donation gets you in the door, and that was lovely for As You Like It. And then for the second show, which is usually a history or a romance or a tragedy, we do free student night. So any proof of studenthood gets you free in the door on the second Thursday of the show. And that could be an email, it could be a report card, it could be you're simply just little under 18 and we can tell your student or student ID, of course, or anything like that.